infrastructure. Recycle Colorado's mission is to advance infrastructure, end markets, and state and local policies in waste reduction, recovery, and diversion. So we thank everyone for being here today. Here is our wonderful, wonderful council. I'll let everyone introduce themselves, but my name is Becca Walkinshaw, and I'm the chair, and I'm with Republic Services. If we want to go down the list there.
Hey, Melinda Kadinger at Smokies.
I'm Maureen McCarthy with FOCO Trash Mob, which is the local arm of Break Free from Plastic, the global organization that does plastic audits. Kim.
Sorry, I had myself muted so that you wouldn't hear anything, but you couldn't hear me either. I'm Kim Miller. I'm not in a business, but I also am part of the FOCO Trash Mob with Maureen, and I'm here to take notes.
Charlie, where are you?
I don't think Charlie's gonna make it. I think he's been pretty busy recently, but he's one of our board members with Recycle Colorado, and I'm Addie Bzeski, your office manager with Recycle Colorado.
Awesome. We have this little tight group here is awesome. Each one of our leadership people are super passionate about recycling. We've been really excited that we've gotten to create what we present this year and how we want our council to work. And so this year we looked at all the plastic bans, and that's what we're going to bring you today is some information with Holly Pummell with the city of Fort Collins. We're really excited to hear her speak and grateful that she is spending her time with us today. How this works is we will basically Maureen will give a 5-minute presentation, and then Holly will be on as well. And Holly, you'll have about 30 minutes to present in total. About 15 to 20 will be your presentation. Then we'll have a couple of minutes of Q&A. And then we ask that after the presentation, basically what's going to happen is we'll go into our council meeting that we have, and everyone is invited to stick around for it. And we would actually love people's inputs and ideas, because basically what we're going to do is we're going to plan for what we're going to be doing for the next half of the year. So we'd love everyone to stick around, hang out, and give us your input on what we'll be doing coming up. I am going to put on this just real quick. With the Northern Colorado Council, I said we focused on plastic bans this year. So what we do, we're doing the quarterly spotlight presentations. We've made our own web page on the Recycle Colorado website. So we are having collateral on there with plastic ban information. We're doing our quarterly meetings as well. Looks like it was a little redundant. Our first presentation, we had Randy come speak. Randy Moorman, he's the director of community campaigns from Recycle Colorado, and he spoke on the Plastic Pollution Reduction Act. Today, we're gonna go ahead and start with Maureen. Maureen is gonna give a quick presentation on a way of doing triple bottom line reusable bags. Maureen, you wanna go ahead and start?
Sure. So this is a super simple idea that you can do a number of ways. It was a pilot project that we did for outreach event when I worked for the city of Fort Collins. And basically we created these bags collaborating with different organizations, local organizations. And there's a document that you can link to where it says here, where there's all kinds of other information, but we got our bags from ARC, and ARC's manager, the Fort Collins manager, told us at the time he could give us as many of these as we wanted. We couldn't use as many as he could give, but we had volunteers wash them. And I had other volunteers from the Sewing Guild embellish them, and we didn't give them to supermarkets. We used them at outreach events, but you could modify this system for however you wanted to roll it out. And it lends itself really well to grocery stores, just because the quantity of the bags that are out there. We didn't even need to go to Goodwill. ARC was, ready to fit us up with all we could do. So it's just an idea, and if you want more details on it, you can click there, and you'll have lots of ways to implement it. But I don't know if y'all have any questions. I was told to keep it short. So if anyone has any questions, feel free. Otherwise, you can click there and get more details.
Thank you, Maureen.
Let me
Yes,
add one thing. I'm just going to say one thing. It isn't necessary to buy all these bags new, and they have their own environmental footprint when you get these reusable bags. So that was what the impetus was for that project. Okay.
Maureen, do you think you could use, and I know your project was cloth bags, but do you think it would be possible to clean up the plastic reusable bags as well in some way?
So we ended up using a lot of those. They're actually made from plastic, mainly from PET, but they are the reusable kind. The kind that the grocery store is giving to you now, the really thick ones with the pickup, those are not really, you couldn't sew anything on those. But yeah, so Becca's showing you the one on the right there is probably a lot of them that we use. They're very washable. We embellished them. You can have the supermarket's emblem on it. Yeah, so that kind of bag, absolutely.
Maybe not those kind that are like kind of crinkly plastic that's not woven, it's something else.
There's some nylon ones that do not work. Nylon ones you cannot use. Yeah, but there's a ton of these bags out there. Yeah.
so Maureen has made a document and I sent it in the link on just explaining in greater detail what she was presenting on and what a sustainable, successful program, just the different steps. I think there's like 6 steps to it. And then there was also a picture. Was that on the bags, Maureen? Was that the image you had on?
Correct. So the way we were doing it is, yeah. So we had that emblem, which said City Fort Collins, and then, hey, don't forget to take your spoon and your coffee mug, etc. And it had all the groups we collaborated with, the local companies. And then inside, the person took a pledge because we were doing outreach. So they take a pledge and put it inside that they would use that bag. Of course, that wouldn't be happening in this situation. But if you scroll a little bit longer, there is another group that's successful doing this. And there is a town in Colorado that is doing this as well. I can get the name of the town. It's just, I don't recall it offhand, but yeah. So it's a triple bottom line, Becca.
Woo-hoo! Awesome. Well, thank you, Maureen, for sharing that. It's always fun to see, what we can do as individuals or how we can, be entrepreneurs or start a nonprofit. So it'll be interesting to see how things shake out with the ban, but I'm excited to learn more about the ban here. I am going to Holly Pummell is here with the City of Fort Collins. Oops, I'm gonna read your bio here if I can get it on my screen. So Holly is a Michigan native who graduated from Michigan State University with a Bachelor of Science in Environmental Economics and Management. And she had 2 minors, one in Leadership and Integrated Learning and Environmental Studies, and a minor in Sustainability. During her time at Michigan State, She was a sustainability assistant for the residential and hospitality services. She implemented and created programs related to waste reduction and recycling, student engagement, and university community partnerships. Before becoming a senior sustainability specialist with the city of Fort Collins, Holly was actually a program assistant with them. She has worked on the Disposable Bag Ordinance, Community Recycle Ordinance, and the Barriers to Recycling Project. As a senior sustainability specialist, Holly will work exclusively on this disposable bag ordinance, and she is cultivating relationships with community partners, distributing reusable bags to community members, coordinating communication planning, and following the ordinance's implementation. She is super excited to work on the disposable ban and foster relationships with a wide range of stakeholders. And when Holly is not working, she enjoys the outdoors, reading, and spending time with her dog, Addie. Holly, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be in this group presenting today and appreciate the work that you all are doing. So I do have a presentation, but I'm really excited to just have further conversation with you all and answer any questions. I also appreciate hearing from Maureen first and learning about some more opportunities in getting reusable bags out within the community, especially on the reuse point. I think that's so important and something that we're going to be looking into for the disposable bag ordinance. So let me just get my presentation up and then I'll be good. Okay.
Holly, you're muted.
Thank you so much. So we're going to talk about the disposable bag ordinance today and what work has been done and all that good stuff. So as you can see here in our first slide, we have a Bag to the Future campaign slogan of just looking forward on ways that we can use reusable bags in our grocery stores. And then when the state policy comes into effect, how that can look later on in other stores. So today I'm just going to share a little bit about the council work we have done, a little bit more of where the ordinance is going and how implementation has gone, a connection with the state policy and how that will impact our local ordinance and beyond, the engagement we have been pursuing throughout this ordinance, even before we've gotten to council, and then time for questions. So we have gone to council 3 times in 2022 to really hone in how we want this ordinance to look. And some key things that we were thinking about here was, how can we be in better alignment with the state policy, as well as making it, unique to Fort Collins in its own way. So some things that we went over with council on our recommendations and that were all approved include keeping our timeline for the ordinance. So the great thing about the disposable bag ordinance is it was brought to council in February of 2021 and affirmed by voters in April of 2021. So to us, it was very important to keep moving forward on that timeline for voters, as well as for grocers and community members who feel really ready for this change. So we're super excited about that and that date. The next, we are going from a 12-cent fee per paper bag to a 10-cent fee. Again, this is alignment with the state and was something that our grocer partners thought was very important of consistency across Colorado. The next we have is the split between the grocer and the city when it comes to the actual paper bag fee revenue. So originally we were doing a 50-50 split. So when we were at 12 cents, it was 6 cents for the city and 6 cents for the grocer per paper bag. After reviewing the state policy, we moved into a 60-40 split, where the grocer is now getting 6 cents from the 10, and then the or the city is getting 6 cents from the 10, and then the grocer is getting 4 cents. So we had a good conversation again with our grocer partners on how this would look, and thinking about just increasing costs for paper bags and other bags alone. This was an important thing that we thought about. The next is just maintaining a broad exemption for all income qualified program recipients. So we've worked very closely with internally within the city of understanding all of the income qualified programs that fall into this and how it will impact customers and community members when they're shopping. So we're working on having language around, identifying those proofs of income qualified program recipients, as well as making sure that these income qualified program recipients are receiving free reusable bags. So I'll go a little bit further into that when I hit the engagement side. The next is we do have the opportunity to explore further exemptions for this ordinance based on the administrative rule with council's notification. So this is something that's we want to explore further of other things that we can have exempted based on any barriers that a community member might face. So there will be more to come on that as we kind of work through the beginning stages of this ordinance. Next is just aligning the definitions with the state policy. So thinking about what is a reusable bag in their definition, what is a disposable bag, paper and plastic. It's an opportunity for us to be clear with our grocers as well as beyond to other community members and businesses. And the final one is just truly updating any elements within the ordinance that could better align with the state to make it clear as possible. So a little bit about the status of where we were at. So I joined the team in the fall of 2021 and had the opportunity to be extensively part of the grocer store and community engagement that we've done. So we did a 3-meeting arc with our grocers to really understand and also share how this ordinance is going to impact them and thinking about building our relationship further, since they are our frontline people and will help us in the way that we're going to be implementing the state policy. So that was a lot of what fall was. The winter really focused on council work and continued engagement. So council work, we went to council for a work session in January, and then we had 2 read-throughs between February to March. During that time, we also were able to get 3 free reusable bags to 1,300 households, each receiving 3 bags. So that was a super exciting thing for us to be able to provide those for community members in low to moderate income households, as well as continuing our work of distributing bags through tabling events, and later hopefully establishing a bag bank at stores and or figuring out other ways that we can continue that reuse. What does spring look like? So spring has been crazy, but so exciting. We've had the opportunity to schedule over 10 tabling events within the community. We're going to be at 6 different grocers locations who invited us to table, where we'll be sharing free reusable bags, rack cards, and any information and questions that they may have around the ordinance. This is also a time that we'll be receiving feedback. So something that's important to us in moving forward with this ordinance, as well as thinking about the future of the state policy, is getting feedback from our community members and grocers. So during this time, we're going to have a Spanish and English feedback survey on our main website for people to give their feedback on how it's going, how it's affecting them, and ways to understand what it looks like. And on top of that, we're also starting our check-in meetings with grocers to understand their preparation, as well as when the ordinance is actually in effect, how it is going for them. It is very valuable to have strong relationships with these partners and understanding how this ordinance moves forward. So then into the summer and fall of 22, again, this is continued support on our local ordinance of making sure our grocers are getting the support they need, as well as understanding how this is impacting our community members and what else we can do there. Another big aspect of this is preparation for the state policy. It's going to impact way more retailers in our community, and it is very large reaching. So that's something that we're really going to focus on and create a lot of internal and external partnerships to accomplish that. So thinking about the state versus the city comparison, I give you a little bit of context of what this looks like. And I wanted to just break it up a little bit further. So the state policy is the Plastic Pollution Reduction Act. And in this one, it impacts all retailers. They do have some exemptions for smaller retailers based on size and location out of state, but really it's impacting a majority of the businesses that we all shop at and go to. The difference in how they are implementing it is they're phasing it. So for the state level, there's going to be the initial phase in January 2023, where it puts a 10-cent fee on plastic and paper bags at these locations. And then in 2024, it bans plastic bags and polystyrene. So these are some big changes within our community that can really impact how we mitigate plastic pollution, as well as styrofoam and beyond. I think it's a really amazing opportunity to think about sustainable behavior change. Looking at it further, we are in alignment with the fee. We are in alignment with the split, similar to the state level. A thing that we do recognize is that our ban on plastic bags is immediate at the 13 large grocery stores that are impacted, while the plastic ban is phased for the state policy. The next one we have is how we're looking at income qualified programs participants. We want it to be more reaching, so this is not a barrier for residents, but as well, we still want to encourage reusable bag use and finding them in different spaces. We've provided tips and tricks of getting bags from thrift stores, Facebook groups, whatever it may be. That's something that has been pushed. Where the state is only going to be exempting federal and state food assistance programs, such as SNAP and WIC. So these are things that we're going to, have to have further education on between the two, and making that clear for our community members. Sorry, I see two chats. Oh. So what does our engagement plans look like? So as I said, we have over 10 tabling events scheduled, and I am so excited about this. It's a great opportunity to receive feedback, as well as share thoughts on how this is impacting and ideas with community members, as well as the grocers. The next thing we have is 2 service agreements to distribute 2,000 bags to 668 households. This is something that is super important to us and how we engage with community members. And the target audiences for this distribution, one is low to moderate income households. We'll be working with care housing of distributing them throughout their properties. And then another one is going to be Community Connectors, which is a grassroots organization that works with the Hispanic and Latinx communities. So these are 2 big areas that we want to hit. But of course, there's so many people impacted by this ordinance, and we're just going to continue to reach them and make sure they're finding reusable bags that work for them. Further on to just how our communications campaign is looking. I'm loving the Bag to the Future. Don't know why that happened. I love the Bag to the Future logo that was inspired by Molly Staylor, who is my supervisor and has led this ordinance quite a bit. So I wanted to give her a shout out there. But we're working on having our press releases out, newsletters have gone out, and working with other community partners to just get this information. So I definitely will be following up with your group on ways that we can connect and share this. The next we have is just ads throughout the community, whether they're digital or printed. It's something that we've been distributing and trying to connect anywhere we can. We also have started radio ads throughout our community, both in English and Spanish speaking. So we're hopeful of that is reaching great amounts of community members. And then our social media promotion will be starting. Beyond that, like I said before, feedback is essential in an ordinance like this and understanding our partners as well as community members. So that is something that we will be working towards. The next, as I mentioned, the goal of future bag roundups. Like Maureen was saying, the importance of reuse in following the triple bottom line is essential. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to redistribute within our community of bags. I don't know why it keeps on wanting to switch, but it's a great opportunity to move bags around and get them to people who need it. So I'm super excited to explore that further in this implementation process. And from there, it's just really continuing the engagement and preparation for the state policy. That's going to look very similar to how our local ordinance was, of having conversations with community members and really stepping outside of our comfort zone of how we can get this message across and information. But with all that being said, thank you so much for having me present. And I'm just going to stop my share and just taking time for questions or comments or whatever else you may have.
Yeah, was at the farmer's market this weekend tabling with our little group. And I think this woman who spoke with me represents a pretty big group within our town who are really concerned about their free little plastic bags going away because they don't know what they're supposed to do with their cat litter and backyard dog pickups and so on. And so I gave her the best information I could, which was find other things that are going in your trash that you can use. But I'm just wondering if the city is addressing that particular thing, because she's not the first person I've talked to who's worried about that. And I think it's going to be a big issue. And I think people, what we don't want people to do obviously is to go to the grocery store and buy those really heavy garbage bags or other bags in order to use them for one time for litter and such. So is there a plan to kind of address those kinds of questions for households or get information out there to sort of preload solutions?
Yeah, Kim, I think this is a really good point to bring up and definitely something we've heard in our engagement throughout community members. The way that we're looking at this is, it is uncomfortable and sustainable behavior changes. That's just part of it. We recognize these are being reused for other things, such as cleaning your cat litter, using them for trashes. In ways that we're thinking about it, we haven't developed any particular messaging yet, but this is something that I'm happy to mark down to figure out ways that we can address that for community members. But ways that we look at it, if you're getting your paper bags, if you are paying for the fee, there's an opportunity to use the paper bags to pick up those things or to use them as trash bags. But moving forward, I would say that, bringing this up is important. And I think that I'm very happy you have done this, and I'll have further conversations with my comms team of how we can address that further. But I don't have solutions for you right now.
Okay, I just think it's gonna be really important to help people prior to the ban kind of know what to expect and help them think creatively through the process.
Can I tag on to Kim's question? As far as getting the word out prior, for example, in Sprouts here at Scotch Pines, the employee knew about the ban, but there was no signage or there was nothing telling anybody about what was coming, and they had removed their container where people were coming to recycle their plastic bags. So maybe this question is really, is part of that 60-40 money going to be used for things like that? That's my question, I guess.
For continuing recycling, you mean?
For just putting up some information in the stores, posters, something, let people know, that type of thing.
Yeah, that's a great question, Maureen. And the way that I'll say it is we are working very closely with grocers on figuring out the best signage for them. So in some ways, there are grocers that are taking it into their own hands of what kind of signage they want based on the style and the promotion that they use within their stores. And I've gotten word from many grocers that they're ordering them and they're about to be in those stores. With this ordinance coming May 1st, I think the biggest thing, if you're not seeing that signage out right now, is based on confusion of when it actually happens. But I foresee in the following weeks in a lot of stores, especially the ones that have made their own marketing materials, that will be getting out. As for others who are going to be using some of our city materials, we are going to be ordering those this week, and they'll be getting to them. And our goal is the end of next week. So you're going to see a lot more information on how this looks and where to find the information and resources on the ordinance. We have window clings, postcards, posters, rack cards, tons of information that also leads us to our website that is continually updated and will have the feedback survey once the ordinance is live. As for the 60-40 split, your question there, super exciting. It is going to be dedicated to waste reduction and recycling programs on our end with the city, as well as funding funding reuse collaborations and projects. So that's something that's in the works based on what we'll be receiving. As for grocers, what was asked of them is to create a grocer fee revenue plan. And there they outline how they'll be using it. So some of the examples of how they're using it is partially covering paper bags, covering signage. Other opportunities for them is doing promotional bag giveaways. So that is how they're moving forward, as well as we are understanding their different waste reduction and recycling programs. So they let us know what is currently in place, and they can also use that 40 split to go towards other programs.
And I have one quick other question, because I keep getting confused on what happens when the state one kicks in. So here in Fort Collins, when we have a ban on it, so on January 1, there's a fee on it for the state. Do we just continue with our ban? We continue with our ban, correct?
Yes, so fortunately with Fort Collins, they have the home rule. So for our local ordinance, it will take precedence over the state for grocers. Now, when it comes to other retailers, they aren't following the local ordinance because they don't fall into that. They have to be over 10,000 square feet and more than 4 departments. So they won't be in that. So they'll be following the state policy. So communication will look different for them based on subtle differences between the two. And it's really, truly mostly focused in the phasing of that policy.
Okay, thank you.
Another question, you said reuse is going to be something that the city's going to be trying to promote. And when the state ban takes place, that'll be, I think, really important. I just wondered if, since styrofoam is going away, would there possibly be a plan through the city to help restaurants have a reuse system of some sort?
So reuse systems have been floated around for Fort Collins restaurants, for example. The way we're looking at it, I will tell you right now, I am the only person working on this ordinance right now without Molly. So I am waiting until she's back from parental leave to really establish with the Economic Health Office and our office on how we can assist and partner with other retailers within the Fort Collins communities. And I think that's questions around reuse systems. I think it's questions around what is compostable boxing, what is not compostable, and having deeper conversations of what that's going to look like with them. It's not totally fleshed out yet right now, just due on the capacity side and also getting close to the local ordinance and focusing on that messaging. But it's definitely something in the thought process of how we can address this and be a good support system for them.
Thank you, Sandy, if you got to take off. Holly, I have a few questions for you. So thank you for presenting. It was really good. Are we able to get that slide that compares the state versus Fort Collins?
Yep. So my
Can you
plan
share
is
that?
after this meeting, I'm gonna actually share the whole presentation with you and some resources, some messaging that we're working with, and everything you can use and like read and share out within this group and beyond. There's no secrets here. It's very transparent of what this ordinance looks like. So I'll be sharing that your way.
Thank you. Thank you. And then I just wanted to clarify. So you were saying then in January 1st, 2023, all non-grocers who are retailers in the city of Fort Collins will have to start paying the 10-cent fee per the state.
For the state, it will be a 10-cent fee on plastic and paper. Yes.
Okay.
And that phases out in 2024. I don't think like there's a weird phasing. I know it's January 1st, 2023 for the state. I cannot remember the start of the phase 2 for 2024 because I don't think it's January. I think it's a little bit later, but
Well, January 1st, 2024 is the polystyrene ban and everything.
okay.
Yeah.
I just couldn't remember if it was January or June. I remember.
Yeah, it was January. I wrote it down, or at least I wrote down January. So it could have been June. Okay, so that was us. I just wanted to clarify that. My question then is about the bags themselves. So with paper bags, what does that cost? The 100% recycled content paper bags. Correct is what it is, which
Yep.
I want to applaud you all for doing that. That's at Republic, we really promote the demand side, and we really like to see manufacturers having that recycled content in there. So thank you. With that, is there a cost differential to a 100% recycled content paper bag versus what they're using now?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the way I'm looking at it right now, that's, when I've been working with grocers, is understanding the inflation and impacts of our paper bag supply chain right now. When I was talking to them earlier it was October, prices were pretty high for paper bags, close to 8 to 12 cents is what they were telling me. As for the 100% recycled materials bags, that gets a little more complicated just based on the market of what is available for grocers and what is available for other vendors and businesses. On that side, I don't have the exact cost, but I have had concern from some grocers of being able to get them and receive them. So that's something that we're trying to navigate as the city and how we move forward with this ordinance, because it's important for us to be able to be in compliance with our own ordinance, as well as understand what is going on with the markets when it comes to paper bags.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, supply chain is crazy everywhere, right?
Yep.
Like needing something and then being able to get it is two different things. So then my other question is, I went to California a couple of weeks ago, and they have these reusable, like, I think they say they can be used 120 times, and they're like a really thick LDPE bag. Is that going to be something that we're going to see in Colorado as a reusable option?
I'm so happy you're asking this, because this is something that has come up really early on in the development of the ordinance. So no, those bags are not included. The way we define a reusable bag in our local ordinance makes them go out, because we require stitching, we require over that many uses. So there's deeper details of what they are actually made of. So that won't be effective here, but it has been a question that we have received. So I'm not going to ask it, because I've been told, like, this is a reusable bag. And I was like,
Yeah.
No.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to show, it does say right on here.
Yep.
Please reuse this as many as 125 times. Yeah.
Good luck.
Holly, what is your language for how many times it has to be reused?
I would
What number?
check. I would
Okay.
check into the ordinance again. I believe it's 125, but I need to double check. I can't confirm that of being correct.
Okay. Okay.
Is that something you'll be trying to get out to the public, that their bags need to get used till they fall apart, basically?
The goal is we're really just showing of how to care, stash, and bring the reusable bags. That can be something that we add on later on, but really just focusing on getting the bags there. A lot of what we heard in our engagement is forgetting to bring the bags. Getting them to bring the bags is the first step in understanding that. And then from there, like you said, the importance of continuing to reuse them over and over again and caring for them like an article of clothing, making sure they're washed, making sure they're stashed in proper places that you'll be able to use them.
And I'm wondering, how is your Hispanic engagement going?
Yeah, so our biggest thing is working with the community connectors. We are waiting on our bags to get here from what we ordered. And basically what we're going to have for them is they're going to be doing door-to-door engagement within their communities. We'll have scripts for them on what this ordinance is, who's impacted, how it will look for them, as well as sharing other resources. And then we are continuing to find tabling events where we're able to address historically underrepresented community members beyond just our Latinx community. So those are all things that we're really working through and trying to make this an equitable distribution as well as information sharing.
Are you getting engagement of the Spanish version of the survey?
Yes, so we're going to have a Spanish and English survey.
Okay.
And all of our communications collateral has both Spanish and English translation.
And so you don't have the survey yet, so you're not sure what the response rate is.
We haven't received
Okay.
response on our feedback surveys, so because
Okay.
it's live on the day it starts.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Great.
Just one last quick questions. What, sorry. Becca.
No, I love it. I love all the questions.
Please
Um,
ask.
what- What do grocers do with, because they have lots of plastic bags still, starting May 1? Like what are they told to do with all these bags?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in reality, on our end of controlling what we can as a city and with what this looks like, we're asking that they're all removed by May 1st. Some grocers had said they're going to go to other stores within Colorado that don't have the ban yet. Others haven't given us a clear picture on where those will be going. Knowing, having these conversations with these partners, I foresee them continuing to redistribute them to other cities within Colorado that don't have local bans yet. But I am not certain on everything that they're doing with that. That hasn't been a further conversation with them, but you're bringing up a good point of where they would be going.
Does anyone else have any more questions?
I
Great.
haven't seen any of your info yet, so I have just a little feedback. I haven't seen anything.
Well, that's great to hear. We are pushing things through and getting them out. I have received some feedback from other community members, but it's obviously a continuing effort of reaching everybody we possibly can. So thank you, Kim, for letting us know that. And it is being addressed, especially in these next couple of weeks. We're going to have a lot more information going out.
Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation.
You're welcome. Well, I really appreciate this time with you all, and I will send up a follow-up email to Beth. Oh, there's another hand raised. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Did you have social media links already that you said are ready to go, or you're working on those?
So social media is going to be going out at the end of this week into next week, and then through May 6th. So that's where we'll see the social media. And then press release is going to go out at the end of this week as well.
Got it. Okay.
Well, again, thank you so much. I will be sharing more information and resources for you all. And I just love the work you're all doing and feel fortunate to be able to join. But I said I cannot stay for the entire meeting, but I really appreciate this time.
Thank you, Holly. We appreciate you and we learned a lot today. So thank you very much.
Good. All right, I'm gonna be here for a second and then I'm gonna head.
All right. Best wishes with everything. You got a busy couple weeks ahead of you.
Thank you. I need that. I need the best wishes. It's a big task.
It is a big task. Well, good job.